After my last video explained something I was very much into at the age of 9, I thought it was appropriate that the game I talked about this time was something I was very into when I was 11.
Can't believe how the world has changed. I'm feeling good with my life and I'm reaching for my dreams. I listen. Seems like the whole world's smiling.
I'm the only person in my family who is a part of the true middle children in history, Generation Z. My cousins and I have an average age gap of 17 years, so pretty much everybody ignored me, which triggered an instant imbalance of socialization skills that led me to check into this online hotel. If you often got ignored in the real world, you can just go into Habbo and form parasocial relationships with strangers on the internet to counter that problem. Okay, maybe that wasn't a good idea either. But all jokes aside, what made Habbo appealing was that you can play the game whichever way you wanted to. It's basically a game with no NPCs and kind of the natural progression for early teenagers transitioning from Club Penguin or Neopets. At its peak, 5 million different users were online per month and spending around an average time of 40 minutes on the site. Now, I only knew two things about hotels when I checked into Habbo. One, I never been to one, and two, if Bruce Wayne can buy one as a statement, maybe I could rise to the top.
Well, a guy dresses up like a bat clearly has issues.
But he's put Falcone behind bars.
And now the cops want to bring him in, so what does that tell you?
They're jealous.
Sir, the pool is for decoration, and your friends do not have swimwear.
Well, they're European.
I'm going to have to ask you to leave. It is not a question of money.
You see, I'm buying this hotel and setting some new rules about the pool area.
But how did this chat room concept of a game carve a corner for itself? Well, turns out by complete accident. Habbo was built on the Adobe Shockwave client and was initially created for a Finnish band, but soon entrepreneurs from the British Empire took it for their own and colonized it. Instead of chatting on MSN, you can alternatively chat on this hotel with the boys. Or you can meet new people, making various different connections with other Habbos ranging from friendship, co-workers, brothers or gang members in arms, relationships, and business partners. It was an easy, accessible game. You could go to school or to your cousin's house, log in, and pick up exactly where you left off, since it was played on the internet browser. It also was not a demanding game when it came to graphics, and thank God, because this was when most computers looked like this. The business model was, give them the hotel, sell them the Fernie, since a lot of low-powered PCs can support the game, provided a stable internet connection. Habbo worked because, at worst, you can just have it as a game to message friends and create rooms or whatever, but that was just the beginning, and there was a lot more to do and discover. And you would rather be caught playing this game than Neopets, so dust off that old Dell dimension and let's discover some rooms. The community was and is the reason Habbo got as popular as it did. I can honestly say I met a lot of great people on this site. The actual kids and teenagers on Habbo, they got their first dopamine hits with this game. There's no limit on ambition, it's a video game. If you have a solid enough idea, you can make a room to bring your imagination to reality. From game shows, American Idol, any business establishment, the airport, literally everything in life, including the mafia, casinos, and any kind of club. It wasn't that hard to find a room filled with a niche that can captivate you. Habbo became so popular that 4chan raided it twice. Then Quackity did it over 10 years later when the site was already dead. The 4chan raids will be the most infamous. It consisted of users dressing up like Afro Man if you didn't get high, and blocking people from using the pool, claiming it was closed due to AIDS. And then Steve Irwin died, so Stingrays was added to the lore. These brave men in their war against tyranny blocked access to the pool, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Habbo closed down the pool, achieving the raid's goal. Then they changed the interface to allow users to walk past other Habbos, so this can never be repeated again. But you wanna know what the crazy thing about all of this is? Habbo referenced this incident directly in one of their advertising campaigns. Habbo's parent company Solaki was very hands-off when it came to the community. At the very least, they rounded up celebrities for promotions and did some events here and there, but first and foremost, they were about that dollar. Real-world money was used to buy Habbo currency, aka coins, which was then used to buy furniture or Habbo Club membership. Basically, you get to be the guy she told you not to worry about. This was the birth of Wall Street, since coins and valuable furniture carried real-world value. An economy existed in this game. You could then funnel those coins out and get some real-world world cash. So while I was not old enough to really get into making money off of Habbo, the fact that you could kept the player base strong since you could play the game for monetary gain. Can you imagine if this is around today? This is a day in my life making money off of Habbo Hotel. So I start my morning with Alright, that was enough backstory. Let's get back into when I first checked into the hotel. Starting off in the most rundown studio apartment, feeling like the man Jerry Seinfeld himself. But I wasn't about to be a comedian. I was heading to the club to be a rapper. The bustling atmosphere made you feel as if you were the main character on a sitcom, and just like Joey Tribbiani, I spent the early days getting some bacon. I clearly had a type because I had so many girlfriends, I forgot who was who because they all looked the same. I wasn't one to get locked down though. You'll never catch me in any wedding chapel. The player base was like 60% girls and 40% guys, so I couldn't miss. Oh, my girlfriend is offline? Oh, okay, I'ma just get another. But eventually, my playboy ways caught up with me.
Girl next door, you know? I don't know what to do.
So it wasn't you.
Alright. Honey came in and she got me red-handed, creepy with the girl next door.
But why was I in the club? Well, I went by the name DJ Adam 225, aka my noob stage. Being a noob on Habbo is not for the weak. You will get made fun of, and the only way you learn about the society is either by getting scammed or an established member takes you under their wing and it's just like, look jackass, here's how this whole thing runs. Rule number 1, HC and norms, don't socialize unless the norm has a great personality. Rule number 2, moderators will ban you over the dumbest, littlest things. Does not matter if you are innocent, they will make you lose your friends and God forbid any money you put into the site, but more on that later. And rule number 3, if your Habbo girlfriend is with a dude that looks like this, she's for the streets. A couple of times I had HC girls hit on me and it was like, damn, when the 10 out of 10 likes you. Compared to my crime alley apartment, her crib was an actual mansion. She's giving me rights, I'm inviting the boys over while trying to be the best husband I could be. It works until the cultures clash, because I didn't have any money. I didn't put money into the game at all. This one time I was hosting a falling furniture tournament, and I was kind of hoping people would use the pay to play or pay to kick option so I could raise some capital, because I didn't have any prizes to give out. This was a pyramid scheme. Then my girl won, and I originally thought she was down for the Bonnie and Clyde situation, where I don't give her anything and we just keep hosting falling furniture until someone pays to play. But instead, she approached me like,
I won, babe. What's my prize?
now, I know a gold digger from a mile away, so my broke ass had nothing to say but, your prize is me. Yeah, we broke up like 2 days later.
Like, if you're a broke boy, just say so.
And that's when I decided it was time to focus on my studies, colleges, high schools, and universities. I only mention this because one day some people recreated a Superbad movie. It was that easy because a bunch of people used to go to these high schools and roleplay what they thought high school was. Maybe find love that leads to marriage and kids, but not through traditional methods. You go to an adoption center. Alright, here we got the room owner, shout out to her. And if this emoji was in the game, every kid in this room would be using it. And I gotta be transparent here, guys. Every gym hopper has their 11, and ladies and gentlemen, no bullshit, this was my daughter. It looks up. I like how the VIP who was called out for whispering immediately stops whispering as soon as she has to leave. Wait, why is the adult talking like a baby? You're the adult. Oh, look at Mr. Escape the Matrix here. This guy with the social commentary. Now, if you could believe it, there were 3 groups of Habbo babies. The first group was just there to roleplay and have a nice family dynamic and see what storyline everyone in the room brings together. Some were just kids who had tragedy in their own lives, so role-playing this family dynamic was therapy in some ways. The second group was just kids who just wanted to troll, constantly cry, and try to get rights to sabotage the room. Basically the polar opposite of the first group. And the last group were the gold diggers, the ones that were just after your money. They would typically target Habbo Club members solely for adoption. The ones that were committed to the hustle would put like little W's and little hearts in their chat messages, but make no mistake, they would execute extortion for furniture. Lord knows who was behind each computer, but the less I know, the better. Not a bad way to burn a few hours on a Sunday morning though. Fight a gang war and then massacre your entire family. On a gang related mission, I shot a guy, he landed in the pool, and I guess whoever played him stayed dead in the pool. Cause I returned to the room like an hour later, and bro was still out. Like, you know it's a game. You could do other shit now. That's the thing that made Habbo special. When the player base cared about selling an idea, the idea was sold. So that's what I did with my second account, 50 Cent Heat. Like the name suggested, I pretended to be Fitty. I had a G-Unit recording room and a G-Unit concert room, and my account got banned before I could even play Sound of Furniture. But there was this one time I got to do a G-Unit concert. Following the transition from Adobe Shockwave to Adobe Flash, a considerable amount of games and features like the camera ceased to exist. On top of that, a bunch of hotels were merged with each other to help consolidate user numbers. To quell displeasure that older members had with these changes, the site became more unmonitored, with the swear word filter being made optional and then turned off entirely. The new Flash player the game's client was not running under did allow for new features to be implemented, but an entry to the emerging tablet market was not one of them. Habbo missed out on pairing itself with the iPad as that market continued to grow and take off. Despite that, Habbo's popularity grew to its peak in 2011. Newer players kept the in-game economy strong with the influx of new accounts purchasing coins and Habbo Club membership, now rebranded as VIP. Older players had reason enough to stick around. They were allowed to swear freely without being cracked down by mods and filters, a far cry from their younger days on the site. It was a win-win for Habbo since they didn't have to hire moderators to keep the player base in check, and they also had an increase in revenue that attracted new investors. Habbo gift cards were now flooding stores and they were rolling in that dough. Who gives a shit if everyone can freely swear? What was the worst that was gonna happen?
Mate, we're having Habbo sex!
Habbo Hotel is inhabited by paedophiles. It amounts, says one critic, to a children's brothel. Investigating the site over a period of months, this program has discovered that users, some as young as 9, are bombarded by explicit chat and regularly propositioned to strip and perform sexual acts on webcams. Following our revelations, one of the company's biggest multi-million-pound investors has pulled out.
In this indecent time, predators found their way onto the site with the intention of targeting kids for sexual exploitation and blackmail, using Habbo currency as their main way of leverage. The Channel 4 segment painted this entire site as this predator dynamic, exposing how hands-off moderation had become. Habbo's reputation for being a safe place for kids was long gone. Like, sure, 4chan happened, but that was back in 2006. It didn't really damage the site in such a big way compared to this controversy, but considering this is probably one of the first things parents find when they look up the game, it was not a good look. I would honestly say this is what killed the game's popularity, but it's how Habbo responded that really killed it. You see, Habbo consistently advertised itself by taking globally compiled user logins as a way of saying millions of people check into this hotel, but on average you could find 10,000 people concurrently online. Still, 10,000 is good, but outsourcing 225 moderators was not good. It was such a poor response to the controversy, especially when you advertise the hotel as a place for millions, but Habbo was not done responding. Actually, maybe they were, since they launched the Great Mute. Just as the name suggested, the chat interface on this chat site was disabled for 2 months, so if anyone logged in and didn't know about the controversy already, they would soon find out why this entire site is muted worldwide, strictly because of a British news segment. Habbo automatically looked guilty as shit by muting everyone for 2 months. While a new moderation system was being put in place to combat the allegations, the loss of players and revenue damaged the site way more in the long term. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where Habbo truly went into decline. Parents did not approve of the game because of the news, and neither did kids because you couldn't play the game. The mute happened in summer. That was when people had the most free time. During the mute, older members who were once fond of the Shockwave era quit, as to them the site was already departing from what it once was to them. And the newer Flash players quit because they weren't on the site long enough to see reason to stick around. This domino effect grew since more and more people quit because their friends were quitting. Not to mention the players that already quit because of the controversy. Or, you know, The fact that 4chan raided the site again. By the time the Great Mute was unmuted, the damage was already done. Instead of immediately improving moderation and giving everyone reparations, the 2-month mute made Habbo look absolutely criminal. And the only thing they had to show for wasting the summer of 2012 was the return of the swear word filter and slightly improved moderation. The gambling ban killed the economy of the game, and as casinos closed down, Habbo took increased efforts to tax players on coins and Fernie, even though they essentially started the recession with this ban. Now, while they kinda had to do the gambling ban, it did not help that the thing people played the game solely for and spent years working towards was now worthless. No one knows about the days I had to grind in my coin shop. On top of that, most accounts were catching bans left and right. A ban can range from a day, a year, or all the way up to 2025 or an entire century. But if the account was banned for more than a year, they tack on a permanent ban, completely negating the timeline the website itself gave you. It's not 2025 yet, so we'll see how that pans out, but I'm pretty sure those accounts are permanently banned. But I do want this part of the video to age poorly, so, prove me wrong. Throughout the Declan years, I would check my account from time to time since you were able to send private messages to your friends list. Whenever old friends would put out that bat signal, I'd respond, but then they changed that feature so messages expire after a week. So if we were ever friends, you were a real one, and I'm sorry I can't contact you. I'm not logging in to see this shit every week. During COVID and the whole lockdown, Habbo had a revival. But you can't teach a dog new tricks because the website completely failed to capitalize on everyone being home. They raised prices, introduced NFTs for some reason, and handed out more bans so people can buy new coins. Greed and no long-term plan plagued this site before, and we got to see that recreated during the pandemic. Logging on today is just depressing. You spend your time wandering these empty rooms that used to be packed, and you wonder where your friends are today. Where are they in their lives and if they are doing okay? Me personally, I think about the crew that helped me make my old Habbo videos. I unfortunately deleted them when I started to upload my mixtape on this channel. I just didn't want anyone to see those Habbo videos when I was pushing a mixtape, but I was dumb since I could have just privatized them. But nevertheless, in the same place we shot the videos, I decided to make Toronto Wire a manor. This manor consists of remaining furniture I have left from accounts that did not get banned, while other kind users pitched in and donated to the cause. So thank you to everyone who helped me out and showed me a good time on my last official days on Habbo. I actually ran into someone who watched one of my videos, so that was pretty cool. This exemplifies why I love this site. You are always able to find your crowd. I'll explain this more in another video, but when it came to life, I was a big proponent of defying convention and challenging people to think more differently and critically. Habbo was somewhat the exception to this rule because while those concert rooms do capture a specific flair of who I am, I think this was the one time I wanted to rise up on the popularity ranks and be somewhat known in the community. But that was way back when, and as we sit here today, the world gets older and so do we. We may not log in anymore, mainly because most of us are actually banned, but the people who played Habbo will always remember that exciting feeling we used to get on load up. Alright, see y'all in 2025. Oh, let's talk about Habbo YouTube movies. There was the ones Gabxlol used to make that were actually pretty good, and all the other movies that never got finished. But this one I remember watching as a kid, and I think it's hilarious. This was at the peak of Black Ops Zombies. Last words, shoot 'em. I don't have a gun. Oh man, look at this ending.